Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Thursday morning here at the RathCo headquarters, live from Buffalo, New York. I am your host and RathCo Corporation creator and owner, Robert Rath, and you're watching the RathCo News Network. So, today in the beautiful city of Buffalo, it is currently 67 degrees outside. And let's see on inside here, I'm looking up at our thermostat in the RathCo headquarters. It is currently 65 degrees in the RathCo headquarters, Studio A. Okay, so it's a hot one for sure today, inside and out. Okay, so let's move on to today's top stories for today, shall we? Right here on RathCo News Network. Okay, so our first story today has to do with a special report I happened to hear while I was driving and listening to talk radio. Apparently, the Navajo Native American Reservation has been having problems regulating dangerous vehicle traffic which runs through their property. As far as I understood via the radio report earlier this afternoon, there have been large semis, aka tractor trailers, hauling large loads of radioactive material. Specifically uranium ore, which, for those of you who are not familiar with ionizing radiation, this stuff is extremely volatile and fatally hazardous to your health. Even at low levels of exposure. Now again, as far as I've been able to understand, these truckers are not going through the proper channels to ensure that their cargo and load is safe and does not pose a threat to the Native American residents in the area. However, my assumption is that these companies care more about meeting their quota than the lives of innocent Native Americans whom are just trying to live a healthy and happy life with their loved ones. I mean, in my personal opinion, I hate all forms of racism and hatred toward others based on ridiculous and superficial reasons such as race or religion. Native Americans have suffered so much at the hands of the white men, us, for lack of a better term. I mean, do we really have to wonder why Native Americans as well as African Americans have trouble trusting us? Gee, I wonder why. Do we really have to ask that question? Now, let me tell you, if I were an African American or a Native American in this country, I would not trust anyone, period. Because honestly, since when has trusting others ever gone well for any other race? I am ashamed of what my race has done in the past to our fellow human beings. And I was raised with the belief that there is good and evil in all walks of life, and I will always stand by that statement until the day that I die. And if there is anything I can do to help put a stop to racism, just please tell me how and give me that chance, Lord. Without racism, we can make this world right again for everyone. And maybe someday, none of us will ever have to live in fear again. All right. Our second topic today, when it comes to our top stories, is con artists and scams in the United States as well as abroad. So up next in tonight's news coverage, as I just said, we're going to be discussing a very large issue that affects thousands of people each and every day in America as well as throughout the world, if I were to guess. I am referring, of course, to scams. And the word scam has become a very broad term due to the thousands of different ways in which a person can be taken advantage of and manipulated out of their hard-earned cash that most of us bust our asses each and every day to help in order to make a decent living. But sadly, some people in this world would rather not work like everyone else. They choose to do their best to rip off and manipulate good, hard-working people with the sole motive of greed and evil thoughts. So why don't we go over a few different types of scams, and I can give you some tips that may prove helpful. All right, so let's get started. First up are the most popular scams, phone call scams. Now, these people running the scams continue to become more and more devious and cunning when it comes to planning out these scams. So here are a few things that you should watch out for. Number 1, phone calls from other states or far locations in which no one that you know would contact you from. Number 2, people claiming to be with the IRS and requesting payments. Now, let me tell you, the IRS will never contact you directly via phone. They would more than likely send you a certified letter. Number 3, anyone calling you asking for personal information almost immediately, claiming that you owe them money and legal action will be taken unless you pay, then they damn near jump into the payment process. Watch out for that. Number 4, always do whatever you can to verify their information. If you can trip them up and catch them in a lie, then they will almost 100% of the time immediately hang up once they know you are onto them. Number 5, just a quick tip. 99% of corporations and companies do not personally contact their customers to collect debts. Usually they refer that work to a debt collection agency. So if a specific company calls you that you've never heard of and they are demanding you pay them some money from a long time ago that you supposedly owe them, don't just be quick to trust anyone over the phone. Do your research and check and actually see if you owe these people. Because these people will do whatever they have to in order to obtain your personal information. Things such as your social security number, which, by the way, almost no one would ever ask you for over the phone. Maybe the last 4 digits at most. Your email address. Now, a lot of spammers will obtain your email address and sell it to other spammers so that they can send you malicious and dangerous files infected with viruses or trojans, which are designed for spammers to gain access to your computer files and financial information. The way they do this is they stick a link in the email and they say, oh, click on this link. Once you click on it, you're done. All right, so that concludes my little segment on scammers. Moving on. All right. Finally, I want to speak to you all about Buffalo drivers. So this last topic on our list of top stories this afternoon has to do with the tragic death of a 3-year-old boy whom should not have died that day. There's a stretch of our Route 33 expressway that runs alongside of Delaware Park, and it had not had guardrails installed to prevent traffic from veering into the park. Well, one afternoon in the summer, a few years back, a 3-year-old boy and his parents were walking down the hiking trail that runs along the edge of the park about 20 or so feet from the highway. Well, a motorist driving a 4-door sedan had fallen asleep at the wheel and veered off of the highway and into the park, striking and killing the 3-year-old boy whom had been walking along the trail, minding his own business, completely unaware of the car hurtling toward him. Now, his parents, unfortunately, were powerless to do anything to help their poor son, and our hearts at RathCo Corporation go out to that family. And this is why it is so vitally important to be responsible when behind the wheel. That means that if you're short on sleep, you absolutely should not be driving or operating any type of motor vehicle, period. Now, soon after the incident, the city of Buffalo installed guardrails along that area and reduced the speed limit to 30 miles per hour, but sadly, nothing can ever be done to reverse the loss of that poor boy. Out of respect and privacy for that poor grieving family, I have chosen not to release any further names or information regarding this incident. Just everyone do me a favor and please pay attention when you are driving. This concludes today's top stories. Thank you for listening. Let's head back to me in the newsroom. Okay, so now that we covered the top stories for today's news, let's see what's been happening with the RathCo Corporation's upcoming content and other info, shall we? Alright, so a day or two ago, I uploaded a short update video to RathCo Gaming informing our viewers of which of our programs, aka playlists, would be receiving new content in the next day or two. In other words, which programs we will continue producing content for. But if you missed it and you're interested in learning more about it, then stick around. So here is the list of programs that I'm currently producing content for. It's at least by now. These playlists are the ones that I'm going to be focusing all of our productive abilities on for the next week or two minimum, meaning that you may not see very much in terms of new programs, aka playlists, until we finish production on the ones in this list. So let's take a look. Okay, so I'm going to go over the ones that I have legitimate explanations for that are not obvious for reasoning behind why we're continuing them. First off, Minecraft Adventures. The second season of Minecraft Adventures, which is running right now, is one of my top choices, mainly due to the fact that it has picked up a lot of popularity compared to some of our other programs. Minecraft is also one of my favorite games to play, so that contributes to my choice as well. Okay, so our next one up, Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty. Okay, so this one is staying for a few different reasons. Number one is the fact that it is a very nostalgic game for me, as I played it and have fond memories of playing it back when I was a teenager and had my PlayStation 2 hooked up. And owned a PlayStation 2 for that matter. So it brings back tons of great memories. Number two is that it portrays its storyline so very well, and some of the military information is extremely accurate when they're speaking of things like past events and wars and things such as accurate weapons and clothing, aka uniforms. Number three would be the stealth the game employs, forcing you to remain silent or do things like knock on walls to distract an enemy, allowing you to move around said enemy. Tons of fun. And the final reason I have would be the fact that this program is beginning to pick up in terms of views and popularity compared to other programs. Okay, Resident Evil Code Veronica X. So this title stays simply due to the fact that it's a classic Resident Evil video game, And again, just like MGS2 Sons of Liberty, it brings back a lot of fond memories of my childhood and my past, playing it on my PlayStation 2 as a teenager. Also, I love pretty much all Resident Evil games. I also host live streams on the RathCo TikTok featuring myself playing this game as well as MGS2 and a whole bunch of other games. You can find the link to the RathCo TikTok in this video's description. Okay, Resident Evil Dead Aim. So this is another one of my favorites when it comes to Resident Evil titles. I also have an iconic story which I probably told many times on this channel involving myself playing this game in the middle of the woods using a long extension cord in Allegheny State Park in the middle of the night. And I also plan on hosting a new member-only show in which I tell all sorts of stories similar to that one from my past. But anyways, Resident Evil games will always be featured on this channel no matter what. Okay, so those are the 4 I have explanations for. As for the rest, they have been chosen for pretty much the same reasons. I would just be repeating myself. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to be sure to mention to you all before we end this newscast is the fact that the RathCo Outdoors YouTube channel will finally be receiving some new content in the coming days. There will be another episode of the RathCo Earth playlist, aka program, featured on RathCo Outdoors, and said episode will also be on a very special. Said episode takes place on a very special place that myself and my family have frequented for years and continue to do so to this day. So it's going to be a good one. I'm also planning on hosting a sneak peek behind the scenes look at said episode over on the RathCo TikTok page by means of a special live stream event. But don't worry, because I plan to announce the time and date of said live stream under the community tab on RathCo Gaming as well as on our TikTok within 24 hours from the event starting. So you will be notified 24 hours before the start of that said event. Okay, so I sincerely hope that you have all enjoyed this episode of RathCo News. The episode may actually upload on the 6th of September, the 6th of this month. I know there was I may mention September 4th, which is when I started production of this episode, this newscast. So took me a little while to produce it, but it spans over the news that I speak of in this episode occurred over the past few days. Just obviously, you know. Anyways, I am your host and RathCo creator and owner, Robert Robbie Rath. This has been a 2024 RathCo Corporation production. I consider each and every one of you a member of the RathCo family of gamers and friends. Please do not drink, talk, text, or do drugs while you drive. Well, don't do drugs anytime, you know. But anyways, you all have my love and respect. Please keep your hands and feet inside the ride at all times because it's always a wild ride here in the RathCo Corporation. For all the folks at the RathCo Corp 2024, thank you all so very much. You have our undying respect, and you will forever be respected and remembered. Each and every one of you make up RathCo Corporation. We would be nothing without each and every one of our fans, viewers, VIPs, and elite members. Anywho, for further information about our Elite Pay-to-View programs and the Elite Club for Elite members, please email us at all lowercase RATHCO2023 at yahoo.com. That's RathCo2023 at yahoo.com. We always look forward to hearing from you, whether it be asking us to feature something on our channel or asking us to tell a story or something on our channel. By the way, if it's a creepy one, you're going to want to check out Just Creepy, because I absolutely love that YouTube channel. If you have scary stories, I would give them to Mr. Ballin or Just Creepy. Those are my two favorite scary storytellers. Mr. Ballin will always be my #1 favorite storyteller of all time. But anywho, in closing, I'm so happy that you all stuck around to watch this. You all have my love and respect. And until next time, stay safe out there. Watch out for zombies. Don't get bit. Watch out for the Umbrella Corporation. And until next time, later.